You're watching Newsfeed AM. Let's pick up on this conversation now. The ANC president, Cyril Ramaphosa, has promised to restore public confidence in his party. This is ahead of the 2024 general elections. Ramaphosa has also vowed to end the energy crisis, saying it poses a threat to the country's economy. He made these remarks during the party's 111th birthday celebrations, which took place in Mangaung yesterday. Joining me now to unpack that address is political analyst Ntsikelelo Breakfast, who talks to us in the city of Gqeberha this morning. Mr. Breakfast, thank you very much for your time. Let's get straight into it. Let's begin with the service delivery element of this, because if the ANC is to convince the voters come 2024 that it is still the party that should govern this country, perhaps they should do better at delivering services to the residents of the country. And I don't know whether this for you means anything at all, because the president was addressing from a municipality, which, by the way, is the only metro in the Free State, which is, we know that it has been downgraded. It is under administration and service delivery. For some residents there, we've been reporting for a long time from that city, services are hard to come by. You look at the state of the roads. So perhaps it was a perfect spot for the ANC to do this January 8 statement. My question to you simply is, was that statement convincing for ordinary South Africans that the ANC is indeed going to start delivering services?
I think he tried his level best to set the scene for the upcoming State of the Nation address, because I think there's a symbiotic relationship between the two. So the statement normally is, regardless of the historical background to it, but normally it's a feeder system to the State of the Nation address. So on the whole, or by and large, I think it did set the agenda in terms of what lies ahead this year. With regard to the issue of service delivery at local government level, I think there is a connection between voter turnout and service delivery. Normally, when there's a slow pace of service delivery, voter turnout tends to be very low. We've seen that of late at local government level in terms of the recent local government elections. People stayed away because of lack of development. So I fully concur with you that that was a golden opportunity for him to showcase that the ANC takes a stand against people who are not getting the job done. No wonder even Balula before that, he took a swipe at the mayor, this and that person.
Let's then talk about the issue of corruption. Was that convincing, what he said?
Of course not. I think the past is still with us. We still have the remnants of the so-called state capture. But I think, just to be fair and square to him, I think he has tried his level best in terms of introducing some political reforms in terms of the restructuring of our security architecture, because that was also affected in the past. There have been a number of people who have been appointed. We have seen people being arrested, even though the argument is that these arrests, they tend to gravitate to a particular faction. So maybe, he needs to make sure that people don't see this as a political move by him to entrench hegemony, or the people should not see this as, a faction that is trying to entrench dominance.
The scourge of crime in the country, Dr. Breakfast, that is something that touches at the core of the worry of ordinary South Africans, whether when I sleep in my house at night, I am safe. And I can say without a shadow of doubt that many South Africans worry, and that is why those who can afford will have alarm systems, and those who can't, well, they are at the mercy of the criminals. Is the ANC up to the task in rooting out or at least lessening the scourge of crime?
The issue of crime is one of the subsets of security. And the states, they speak for themselves. Of late, crime has been out of hand. I think government has been falling short. But he made mention of the fact that he is going, because one of the problems with SAPS is that their budget has been reduced. He didn't say anything about that, but what he said, which in my view I found comfort in it, is that he's going to increase the personnel of SAPS. But also he should have spoken about the training of police officers, because some of them are not able to control crowds. That's why we have issues of violent service delivery, protest, and so on.
Yeah. I'm leaving the energy discussion as a last point here, Dr. Breakfast, because the President, I listened faithfully in the lead up to the January 8th statement and on the day when he touched on the electricity crisis in the country, because that perhaps is the most important talking factor in the country, at least for some. I find it difficult to believe the President when he says that issue has to be sorted out in the shortest time possible. Yes, he didn't use those words yesterday, but in the lead up, he did use the words in the shortest time possible. That's not a timeline, is it?
No, of course. I mean, he made mention of the fact that the issue of power outage, government is going to try its level best to do away with it. But of course, as you indicated, there was that omission, and it's not just a mere omission, it's a very significant omission, because our economy, because of this problem on and off electricity crisis, our economy has not been growing the way it should have. And that has had a negative impact on job creation and so on. So it's a problem that is still looming large, and it needs to be addressed. There needs to be a very detailed plan for government in terms of how to address this problem.
That January 8th statement platform, Dr. Breakfast, should it have been an opportunity for the President, if he is to give us or instill confidence that the energy situation is being dealt with, should he have used that as possibly a way to indicate who might the next coming CEO be at Eskom, or at least give an update as to what are the processes that are ongoing to ensure that there is going to be a chief executive officer at Eskom? I'm asking this question.
Only just to be fair and square to him, I don't think that he should have said that. I think he would have gone overboard, because when you are dealing with the January the 8th statement, in my view, you are just giving the country a helicopter view about the thinking of the ANC. You are dealing with strategic issues. You're not dealing with the operational issues. There will be other speeches that will be laid bare by himself, other ministers, and I think those speeches maybe might cover that issue.
All right. So perhaps you are in disagreement that some indications, at least, some indication, Dr. Breakfast, because the electricity situation is really a crisis in South Africa, and for the country to interchange between stage 3 and stage 4 during a festive break when most of the people are away from work, that's an absolute crisis. You cannot paper over that. And so what I'm trying to get here is, did the President say anything that was assuring to the nation that this matter, it is being addressed and they are going to sort it out in the shortest time possible?
I think the issue of power outage cannot be downplayed. I think government, it's an open secret that government is falling short in terms of getting the job done, in terms of supplying the country with enough power. So I'm not trying to downplay that. But I'm saying at a strategic level, I don't think that it is practically possible. I mean, it's a mission impossible to say everything. I mean, just to be fair and square even to him, I don't think that also, when all is said and done, you can do all things to all people. But the issue of power is a fundamental problem, and it feeds negatively into our economy. I fully agree with you there.
Let's conclude the conversation then with a president who gave an address, and we know that the January 8th statement is an NEC statement. It's put together by that structure of the party, which is the highest, and therefore the president delivers it. The president, the man, I'm looking for signs, whether you saw anything that reflected this. This is a man who's just come back from a re-election, and the understanding is that he should be emboldened. Do you see a man who comes across as invigorated, who's going to give us a cabinet that South Africans deserve, people who are going to be really stressed about delivering services to the people?
I don't think that there was a sense of triumphalism in a negative way, a showing off of power, that, you said this and that about me, that kind of a posture. I think it, comes across as a very matured person, and the strategic advantage that he has at the moment is that there seems to be a synergy. I'm not sure if you've noticed this between himself and his SG, which is good for him because the predecessor of the SG, the current one, was crossing swords with the president. The second thing is that he has a strategic upper hand again because he's got, the majority of people who are his henchmen there. I think he's well aware about all the complexities at play because he can't talk about unity and the renewal of the ANC on the one hand, on the other hand, and not display a sense of a maturity. So I didn't see any political triumphalism and so on.
Yeah, all right. And so he therefore would need to play that one very carefully. Perhaps a direct question. Should the president deal decisively with those who stood against him in the lead up to conference, and by so saying, meaning get rid of them when that cabinet reshuffle is announced, or might he want to leave those people to resign themselves if they are going to resign?
I think for me, the strategic question is, what is the bigger picture? The bigger picture is for him to retain state power. Because without state power, he cannot reduce his ideas into practice. So he needs state power. Then the follow-up question is, how do you get state power? You need a party that functions as a unified force, meaning that you also need those people who did not support you. He cannot go there to pay a ZN on his own. He needs those people who are going to be footprints of the party, and that is going to benefit him. So I think what he needs to do is to adopt the wait-and-see approach and not be hasty by firing people. So what he can do is to appoint someone who can stand in for Fikile while adopting this wait-and-see approach. Whether those people who never supported him will not jump ship on their own, because some of them did say that they might be tendering their resignations.
Political analyst, Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast, let me thank you very much for your time and analysis this morning. Well, I wonder what your thoughts are.